Okay, so as I said, both Eric and Ben are from Taskdock. We'll go ahead and start with a little bio of Eric. He is one of Taskdock's 2 co-founders. Eric has loved spending the past 7 years developing fun, engaging, and easy-to-use internet applications. Prior to Taskdock, Eric's most recent role was helping lead strategy and business development for Yahoo's communication and community properties. And while there, he focused on next-generation communication, advertising, and application platforms. And specifically, his most recent accomplishments there were the launch of Yahoo Mail Platform in 2008 and the acquisition of Zimbra in 2007 to support Yahoo's need to address the growing demand of ISP, EDU, and business email through hosted solutions. Eric joined Yahoo through the acquisition of JumpCut, which was the Internet's first full-featured online video editor. Eric joined JumpCut pre-funding as its first employee. And a little bit of background, Eric grew up in Lake Tahoe, California, and spends much of his free time back there and enjoys mountain biking, climbing, and skiing with his fiancée. And he ski raced competitively for over 10 years, racing for both Squaw Valley and the University of Colorado in Boulder. And he claims that racing was an awesome opportunity that included travel as far away as Australia to race in the summer intercontinental cups there. And if you're curious, Eric considered skiing his major while at Boulder, and his minors were entrepreneurial finance and creative advertising. And then if we move on to Ben, Ben is one of the other of the 2 co-founders, and prior to co-founding Taskdock, Ben spent 6 years with BEA in a number of senior positions, including team lead architect, senior director of the new telecom product division, and deputy CTO. During his time at BEA, he led several key initiatives, including the acquisition of the JRocket Java virtual machine, a strategic deal with Intel, and the launch of a successful, completely new line of server products targeted at the communications market. Ben came to BEA via the acquisition of WebLogic, which was a pioneer in application server technologies. And while there, he was responsible for the development of key technologies, including the high-performance networking and management features. Prior to WebLogic, Ben was part of the original Java team at Sun from 95 to 97, where he worked on networking and security technologies. And his involvement with World Wide Web dates back to its earliest days. While he was at MIT, he helped develop one of the very first web servers, and among other things, created the original White House website, which is pretty cool. In his spare time, Ben enjoys skiing, mountain biking, hockey, diving, and sailing, as well as traveling. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn the controls over to Ben and Eric, and they'll go ahead and present on Taskdock for Confluence.
Thanks very much, Morgan, and thank you everybody here for showing up today. We appreciate it. So I'm Benjamin Renaud, and I'm CEO and co-founder of Taskdock, and today we're going to be talking to you about our launch of our first product. So we're very excited. For us, it's the culmination of probably about 6 months of work, solid on the product, and before that, a lot of activities with customers and other people in the process of coming up with the product. Basically the genesis of the product, the origin of the history of Taskdock, if you will, is really that from the very early onset, we understood that collaboration and collaboration tools like Confluence are really about people. They're not really about content. They're not about files. If they were, it'd be very easy to just drop the New York phone book in there, and boom, you'd have a lot of content. You can't do that. What you need to do is you need to involve the people that have the right content. You need to involve the people that need to consume the content. You need to bring people and get them involved with your installation, get them involved with Confluence, and that's really the secret to a successful deployment, to successful Confluence. I think Atlassian obviously is taking the lead there with a lot of the social features they're introducing, and we think that what we're doing is very much convergent with that. So moving on to our next slide. Once we get there, we go. Good. So the key question here is, what can Taskdock help your organization to do? And the answer there really is help you get people involved. The core idea behind what we're doing is that active users create a virtuous cycle. They bring in content, they keep the content up to date, they make the content useful, other people come in, consume the content, and you have essentially a virtuous cycle, because the more people are consuming the content, the more people are inclined to actually keep it up. The more people can start talking about things, the more they will come back and get involved. Obviously, we're seeing that on a massive scale in social networks, but we believe that in the enterprise, this takes a very, very unique turn. Of course, inactive users create the exact opposite of that. The usual way that people have been engaging each other traditionally has always been sort of a hodgepodge of various kinds of techniques. So obviously instant messaging and email, walking across to the cube, going to meetings, and obviously looking over people's shoulders and cubes, trying to make contact there. So the problem is you have a lot of different ways of collaborating. You have lots of different ways of getting together. And part of the insight that we had was really that when you're working in an environment, you really want to stay in that environment. So, be it email, be it Confluence, be it anything else out there, you're most productive when you're doing the thing that you're doing, and you're not doing something else that is about the things that you're doing. You don't go to Basecamp and sort of maintain your checklist of items. You don't try to go and keep different task lists and God knows how many other different areas. You work in Confluence, you do your tasks in Confluence. You work in email, you stay and you do your things in email. So one of the core insights of the product here, and you'll see this in the demo, is that when you're using Taskdock, you stay in Confluence. Another aspect of what we wanted to do was to make sure that we use the environment as much as possible, and we try to derive as much knowledge from the environment as possible. And what that means is that obviously when you're in an environment like Confluence, you have a lot of information about what's happening. You know about attachments, you know about comments, you know about the content, and you try to really make a product that's going to take advantage of that so that you can, in the process of what you're doing, be as precise and as explicit as you can in telling people what it is that you need, and in people telling you what it is that they need. So we have this concept of targeted action, and again, we'll demonstrate that in the demo. Simple publishing. I mentioned email already several times, and this is a pretty central part of what we do. We believe that wherever you are, you need to be able to and however you work, you need to be able to participate using that. So we think, for example, that being able to use Confluence from email is very important. And finally, obviously, you got to close the loop on things. One of the things I like to say is that obviously it's all about people, and they got to get involved and they got to get together. But business isn't really about social networking per se. Business is about getting things done. So at the end of the day, you need to follow up. You need to make sure that things are happening. You need to make sure there's accountability, and the system itself is built really towards ensuring that. So now, without further ado, I know everybody likes to get their hands on a demo, and if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then probably a demo is worth 10,000. So I'll hand it over to Eric.
All right. So as you see here, this is the Taskdock dashboard. This is what you log into at the beginning of your experience. And what you'll see here is that you actually have every task that's either assigned to yourself or that you've assigned to somebody aggregated in one spot. And as you go through this, you'll see it's sortable. If you want to go by task type, date, different actions, the actual page the content's on, all that information is right there in front of you. Now, you'll notice here you have some quick status colors. So if I actually sort by that, you can see by date, this is due within a day, a week, and greater than a week. You've got simple things like expanding it, so if you have more tasks, you can go through on pagination. So there's really this kind of simple UI systems to keep it really tight integrated, so you still can see it recently updated. You can expand it if you need to, but at the end of the day, it's everything you need. Now, going over what this has here is you obviously can, if you go through here, check stuff as it's complete. Here I'll say finish that one. That'll bring it up. You can go through. You can actually complete an action. So if I want to get into an action here, I can click off that. I'll show you that in a second. Finally, what you can do is you can actually go into the page where the content is. And so in this case, I'm going to click into a page. Now you'll notice that the task followed us here. And so you can see those same 3 tasks. The other ones weren't part of this page, so they aren't included. Now, one of the things that's interesting is we default similar to an inbox where you get all the tasks that are for you, similar to messages for you. You'll see that both the status is still here on the left. I have actionable links. I can actually complete actions through this. Actually, in the case of this one, it's a multiple assignee task. I can see how many people have finished it. I haven't. I can update that. This appears off the page. I can sort this for by me. So these are tasks that really have been assigned by me. I could be the assignee if it's self-assigned. If not, I can see who's completed it, who hasn't. In here, I can see that only half the people have completed this one. If I want to click into that, I can actually see it. All right, Beth Brady still needs to do this. Head back. And then continuing the sorts, you can look at completed. To reopen a task, you simply click the check. Head back to pending. You'll see that task is back there. Close it again. So it's pretty simple in terms of all the different permutations of tasks that you can have. I mean, it's really for either self-assigned, if you're on a page, you need to remind yourself to come back and finish something later. If you're assigning it to somebody else, if you're assigning it to a group or a team. What I'll do is I'll take you through a quick task addition so you can see how that works. If you click the Add Task here up on the right, we also have Add Task from there. Now you enter your description. Now in the assignees, what we do is we actually have pretty good search capabilities. So we actually bring up the A's along with the groups if there are any groups in that period. So in this case, I'll do a self-assigned task. I'm Andrew Russell and this user. Now the next thing I can do is, let's say I wanted to invite a group of people. I could actually, if we notice there was an all down here, I could look at all Antarctica, which is a group. Now what happens when you add a group to a task is it actually resolves into the names of all the users in that group. So if you're working with a product team or some amount of people that you want to quickly access, this works very well for that. If you want to remove a user, you simply hit next. So now what you do is you pick your task. So in the case here, you have to look at general task, commenting, editing, adding an attachment, adding a page. These are all things that you're able to do on this page currently. Now, you'll see on the next page we go to that this list will actually increase as content becomes available, be it an attachment or a comment. So here what I'm going to do is just tell you to comment on the page. Pick a date today in a week. If you want to pick a date, you can actually go in. Now, the last thing which we've introduced, which is this concept of task comment, which is simply a way to add something additional that is outside the scope of really a description. Now, on top of this, these comments live on. You can actually, as you come in through here, see there's a comments section where you can actually send back and ask the requester what he was asking for or get more clarification on something. This is really meant to be a solution to that issue of where did that comment go, where did that answer go. It's like keep it contextual with the actions you're working on. So now what I want to do is actually head into the next user. Who's working on a page that's basically a product launch page. Now, what this person's doing let me bring the Taskdock up. One of the things you'll notice is we really put an effort on putting content first, and so you'll see that Taskdock is very easy to hide no matter which page you're on. So you can see here this is a simple product launch page with a bunch of meeting notes and a diagram down here at the bottom. Now, if you look at a meeting, there tends to be a lot of actionable things. Some of the things we just talked about, uploading, you can see here, reminding, you have to update a product diagram, you have to give some feedback. You want to get final comments out for the whole team. All these things are related to action. So if I come back here and open the Taskdock, you'll see I've really recreated this meeting list into a bunch of actionable items. So what I want to do now is just start completing some of these actions so you can kind of see how it fits together. I mean, really the topic again, inline tasks, and now that you have your dashboard, your page widget, you've got targeted actions, which I started showing you on the last page. This will really show you how those targeted actions translate into actually completion. So first of all, I got this stuff into Taskdock, so I'm going to mark that off. Now, here it said I needed to review the meeting notes. So what I'm going to do is do a comment on this page. All right, as I enter this, what I want you to look at is notes look fine, doesn't have much context. So we actually insert the action that you were working on in there as the metadata. So if you want to click through to the full task, you can get the full information behind it. Now as I head back up, you also see that task is off the task list. This is that idea of closed loop or task follow-up that we talked about, where when you complete an action, we can actually close it for you if we have a confirmed event. So now moving on to the next type is, see here, let's actually get into email, as Ben mentioned. So you'll see here, there's a couple emails. So the first thing is Brittany's been asked, and you can see this here, to update this diagram here. Now I can click through to get the diagram, or I can click through to actually go straight to the update page. What I'm going to do, though, is just reply. Here's my diagram. Go ahead and send that off. Now we're asking for a sales presentation in this email. Let's go through. Asking for a comment. So what I want to do here is this person is basically looking for a comment on a thread. Send that off. And then I was asked to upload a weekly budget. So what I'll do here, reply to this. Just do the weekly update. Send that off. So now we've got a couple things coming back. So I'm going to head back over to the page. Now you'll notice the first thing is that diagram's updated with the red marks over the last one. So between the time that we actually did these emails and we're back at the page, I've already had my attachment updated. One of the ways you can confirm that is you go into attachments, click on the diagram, and you'll see that the comment appended to there actually showing that it came in 3 emails from that person. Now coming back to the main page, we'll tick off a couple more of these. So in the case of me adding some meeting notes, so that we're getting through the demo. Saving that. Now one of the things we do, which you guys haven't seen yet, is we actually compare tasks against specific actions. So you see there's 20-some actions on this page. We actually realized that you needed to update the meeting minutes, and there was a specific task to edit the page to do that. I'm going to say yes, that's now off the page. Moving along, I need to add a new page. So this is to build a support page. I'm actually going to head to an entirely different page. Build the page there. It actually knows that, hey, I need to get that support page built out. Yes, I did it. Now, as I head back to the product launch page, that test is taken off the system. Now I'm going to actually head in here and click this action link. You'll see a comment's appended automatically. Now, if I come in here, that's the file. That's updated. Come back, that task is done. Now I need to comment on this thread. Both are done. All right. It's appended with the information. And now with this is simply go to page task, meaning a general task. Check that off. And we've completed all our actions pretty quickly. And so that, in a very short period, is how you can actually take the meeting notes, turn them into actionable tasks, work through in a normal way, either like we showed through email, through action links if you need help, or just working in a normal path and then getting closed loops at the end of it, that you'll actually work and get these things finished. So now what I want to do is actually explore a couple other areas for configuration. So the first thing I want to do is go into administrator role, go to Confluence admin, and show you a little bit about how Taskdock is, one, installed and configured. So the first thing is installing Taskdock, obviously, is a simple plugin. Email configuration, which will be the first thing you do, has two choices. First, general email settings. Now, obviously, you saw the notifications. Every time you assign a task, you're going to get a notification for that. Obviously, if your organization isn't focused on email, you can turn that off. If you do want to focus on email and using that functionality, you also can get completion notifications, which are very helpful in terms of, hey, somebody's finished it, let's keep the ball rolling. Now, in the terms of commenting on the page, one of the things I didn't actually show you in the demo, we actually have the ability to render the page for you. So what you'll get is a full rendering, unfortunately not diagrams or HTML or JPEG, but you'll get actual text to look through the content. You can actually comment entirely from email if it's your BlackBerry, if you're offline, so that you don't have to come back to the site. And lastly, email replies. Obviously, if you have the notifications working, you can run with the replies. Now, if you do those, you have to configure our inbound, outbound mails. If you're only going to do outbound notifications and none of the replies, you can simply use the Confluence mail server, and it keeps it simple there. Now, the next thing you're going to do when installing is you're going to go into the layouts. And there's two layouts that we have to alter. And what we've done, and you'll see if you go to support.taskdock.com, is we have simple templates that you can copy and paste into here if you use the default template, which will get you up and running really quickly. Now, to give you an idea, on the global template, all we have is one section right here. In the page layout, we have four sections. The first one, edit at the top under page specificator. The next area is here under view. That's the page macro. And then you have an edit macro under edit preview and attachment. Now, we've worked on a number of custom themes so far, and we've been able to get this running in pretty much anything. So what we're asking people to do is we're going to be supporting eventually right out of the gate the original default but left nav clicker theme, and then as more themes get approved and validated, we'll be posting those online. Now, that essentially is all you have to do to get Taskdock running. It's pretty easy. You can get it done in about 3 to 5 minutes depending on your level of expertise. Now, the one last piece of functionality I want to show is called Message of the Day. Now, what that is we'll go through. There it goes. So Message of the Day is the ability to from the administrator's console, send out a message to all users. Now, those messages can actually stack up. So if, let's say, initially you want to send out a new user kind of FAQ along, so the first day people land on Taskdock, everyone in an organization is going to have a message above it knowing exactly what it is, exactly how to get started. And they can actually paginate through. We only have one message now. You can actually paginate through on that. Then as people do more messages, you'll get that. You can X off of them, and they'll go for that. Now, what I'll show you here, how that works, is now as I log in as a new user, that same message comes. And that message being pretty important is that we actually have our beta launching today, which has been a long and fun challenge, working with a lot of people, both at Atlassian and customers around. So what we'd love for everyone to do is get onto the website, download Taskdock, get an evaluation key, and we will be more than happy to start talking with you guys more, getting it out in the public, and moving towards a general release here actually is scheduled in less than 2 weeks. So that, for demo purposes, is all I have. So I'll turn it back over for Q&A.
All right, thank you. So yeah, as we come back over to my slides, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, if you guys have questions, please chat them in, and we'll go ahead and get to those questions right now. A few questions did come in during the presentation. One of them, in your example, the Confluence dashboard was where the Taskdock aggregate of all the tasks were. Is that, I'd assume that's on a user level, right?
Yeah, that is only for, so essentially it's anything that I've assigned to people or people have assigned to me.
Right.
Now, one of the things which I didn't actually go into is we have a user configurable macro, which you'll be able to do through the macro browser.
Yep.
Now what that does is you can actually set up aggregates for the entire system. Some examples of some of the sorts right now is sort by label, sort by space, page ID. So I mean there's really, or sort by assignee or by requester. There's really, if you think about it, ways to roll tasks up into project level. So if you want to roll everything into a certain space, or if, let's say you have a sales team that wants to roll everything up on a project or a development team, if you want to roll everything related to a release, those are all things you'll be able to do with the user configurable one.
Right. So yeah, so that was my next question was, yeah, if you can move that aggregate Taskdock to a space instead of on the, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's more than move. You can actually configure it any way you want it to look.
Okay. And then along the configuration lines, can you customize the drop-down fields for the task names?
Yeah. So that is actually one of the first things we did. So we did a large implementation of our earlier product at Cisco, and what we had done there was they had a form essentially that they needed people to fill out against marketing programs. And so the action in their case was to fill out a form. So it was customized for them to do that. They completed the form, the task was updated, and we leveraged all of our internals to do the messaging, follow-up, and so forth. So yeah, we haven't announced a date for that, but we're definitely moving towards having an API. So obviously if you think about Glyphy, Balsamic, all these different things that you want to get used more often, we're a great catalyst to get plugins used across Confluence.
Yeah. All right. And then let's see here. How did you guys originally meet and get started?
So good story. So one of the ways that I met a bunch of kind of mutual colleagues down at Yahoo was through the Zimber acquisition, and I'd say about almost a little over a year ago, started talking and spent probably about 2 months just kind of brainstorming, and I was still actually working at Yahoo, and we kind of decided after I made a decision to head off to get something going. I mean, it's really anyone who's starting a company. This is my second company to start, and Second company started, and I've sold 2 companies. Another company, a family business out of college. The art of starting a business is just starting. It's pretty funny, and so if you're lucky enough to not overthink it, you can just get going, and that's really how we met.
Well, the other thing I would say is do something that you're interested in.
Yep.
Obviously, collaboration's been something that we've had at heart for a long time.
Yeah.
Eric with the holding up the house, me with a lot of management and a lot of enterprise type experience. And so we picked that and we decided to work with a great team. The Atlassian guys have been awesome, and so have the customers. So we decided this is a good space, a good bunch of people, and so we should go and see if we can do something there.
All right, and then back to the product. What happens if you have two of the same tasks on a page, and you go to complete one of those tasks? How will it know which one you're completing?
So I'll take the example of the adding attachment. So if I have 10 tasks to add an attachment on the page, and I add an attachment, it's going to actually bring up a list in the modal of the 10 different tasks.
It's actually, first it's going to try really hard to figure out if it can figure out which task it is that you just completed. So for example, if there's a reference to a file name that's the file name of the original task that you have to update, then it's not going to ask. It's going to figure out, hey, this is like your quarterly report.xls, and I know that this is what you have to update, so you just uploaded. It'll be fine. We'll just do it for you.
Yeah. In the case of update attachment, it's very linked. In the case of replying to a thread, it's very linked. So you're not going to get a bunch of answers coming back, because one of the things we really focused on with closed loop is this idea is you don't want to get bothered all the time. You only want to get bothered when there's a 95% chance that's what you did. And so that's really how we engineered it.
We tried to do a lot of stuff so that basically we're not very visible.
Yeah.
And that's the answer. So in cases where we can't figure it out, if you have one or more tasks, 2 or more tasks that are the same thing, we'll come up with a dialogue and they'll say, you have 3 tasks on this page that match a possible action you just taken. Have you, does that complete any of them? And you can just very quickly just check whatever is done right there using one of the light box that we've shown, and just click submit. And if you do, then you're done. And if you don't, then the task stays there and as a reminder for what to do next.
Okay. And then kind of along those lines, I guess maybe down the road, do you guys think it would be possible to possibly maybe highlight a section of a page and then maybe right-click to create a task that's specific to that section of a page?
Yeah, I think that's a very promising feature for us. That's a feature that we love to put in there. Obviously, having structured text like HTML or weekly markup really makes that possible. So we're going to be looking at that in one of the future releases.
Cool. Okay. And then a few questions trickled in regarding pricing and costs. Are you guys able to shed any light on the plans for pricing for the plugin?
Yeah, those actually will go live with the website here. Essentially, what we're looking at is a very simple model of a percentage of the Confluence install or the Confluence licensing. And so that percentage and those pricing is all up on the page. And there's actually, if you sign up for the evaluation beta right now, you'll actually get in the email some information around a discount off of the initial one for the first undisclosed amount of time. So just want to get people out there and getting the email.
Okay. And does Taskdock have an API that can be used to initiate tasks from other plugins?
So it doesn't yet. There is actually an API internally that we will absolutely be exposing very shortly in one of our dot releases coming up. I'm an API guy. That's been a lot of my career, and I think that's very important. Obviously, a lot of plugins out there have things that people can do on the site, and what we would love to do is to get to the point where you can create tasks not only for native Confluence actions, but but for plugin Confluence actions. So, for example, if you have a Glyphy diagram, just go there and have an action around that. If you have whatever else you would do, you'd be able to do that.
Yeah, one thing to note on that is when I first showed the action link, is it only offered about 5 choices. And then once we landed on the project page or the launch page, it actually offered 2 more, which was update and attachment, because there were attachments there. And it was also the ability to comment on a thread, because there are multiple threads to choose from. So similar to those lines, when you start adding people through or other plugins through the API, one of the nice things for your users is it's actually configured to only show what's available on the page. So if it's a form, if it's a Glyphy plugin, if it's programmatic mockup, and so forth, scaffolding, you'll have the ability to only expose those that are available so the user isn't overwhelmed, because you could imagine that list dropping down 20 deep. So we've already thought ahead in that respect.
Okay. And we have a few more questions here. If anyone has more, please chat them in before we wrap these up. The next one has to do with email notifications. So when you showed us the email setup, that was with the admin. Is there user preferences for the email notifications as well?
Not yet, but that will be also it's high on our priority list of features to add for one of our dot releases coming up. Right now it's global, but we'll definitely be adding user level preferences, within a matter of a couple months at the most.
Yeah. The other one we're moving towards too is alternative, like doing iCal or integration with Calendar and Exchange.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be great too. Yeah.
Making an iCal feed.
Yeah. Okay, and then there's kind of a comment and then a question at the end. The only thing on this person's wish list is that there would be the ability to schedule a recurring task. And the example they give is if they have things that need to be done every month, and it would be great to track those in something like Taskdock in the future. Do you guys have any plans for that sort of thing, a recurring task that would always pop up on a given day or biweekly or bi-monthly or what have you?
I'll be honest, the recurring task lost out to multiple assignees. So we actually already have it on our roadmap.
We should say it's the number one feature on our roadmap. So that's the first thing that's going to come after. That's the first. The next feature we add will be that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's one that we just in an effort to get the product out and get people playing with it. That was the one that we punted on, but it is. If you look at all this stuff, doing recurring tasks through email for updating spreadsheets is something I know back at Yahoo as I'm pinging 25 different people bringing a project update together. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, I guess that wraps up the questions. This looks great. I do have a few more slides to share, and then we'll wrap it up. Here's the contact information for anyone out there. A lot of the questions were kind of revolving around features or features that could be implemented. If you guys have any more ideas, please get them into Eric and Ben. I put their emails up there, eric@taskdock.com and br@taskdock.com. You can always reach me at webinars@atlassian.com. I do both the plugin of the month and the voice of the customer webinars. And as I said at the beginning of the presentation, all of our webinars are recorded and will be edited and posted up to atlassian.com/TV. So you can check them out there on your own time. One thing that we need to talk about a little bit really fast is Atlas Camp 2009. This is our second year having Atlas Camp. 2008 was a really, really good year. There was a lot of excitement after the event, so we decided to make it a yearly event. And this year it's being held on October 21st to the 23rd down in Half Moon Bay, just about a half hour south of San Francisco. As you can see there, it's $200 per person, which basically just covers the cost of the food and the space and all of that. So highly recommended for developers to go to this. It's just 2.5 days. You can dig into the APIs. You're going to learn a lot of insightful information from both Mike and Scott that will be there, the co-founders of Atlassian. You can learn how to develop a plugin or a gadget, talk with many developers from Atlassian, and just connect with other developers within developer network. So definitely recommend to go to that. Upcoming webinar, October, we have another plugin of the month with Tobias Anstedt. And there is going to be some more webinars in October, and even with this one, I'm not sure of the date yet. It hasn't been locked in. But I'll post that on our events page as soon as I do. I've been away on a holiday, so I've been kind of slacking. So anyways, with that, that's all I have. Thank you guys at Taskdock. That was an awesome presentation, and I can tell you for a fact that this is a really, really good plugin. I can see tons of use cases, and the UI looks awesome, so I'm really happy for you guys. I think it's a good direction and a good product to keep on developing.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.